Hi everyone and welcome to today's class. So today we're going to be doing some back bending together. This is actually one of my favourite things to do, but I do appreciate it can be a little bit scary, first, certainly when you first start trying these out. So back bending just doesn't come from being able to just fold your spine in half. It comes from a lot of openness through the shoulders. You can imagine, take your arms overhead, lifting the chest, but also through the hips as well, the hip flexors, moving those forward through back bends as well. So what we're going to do through this class is we're going to go through a series of sequences and poses that are going to help warm up those areas to get ready at the end of the class, where we're going to explore camel pose and a few others associated with it. So for this class, if you use a strap for forward folding, maybe go and grab one of those, and you may be able to make use of a couple of blocks of some of the poses. Please don't worry if you don't have them or have anything similar, but if you do have them, do grab them for this class. So let's chat, let's get on with our lovely back bending. We're going to start today on our backs. So if you want to bring yourself down, bend your knees. You can keep your knees parted. I always think it's sometimes quite nice to rest the knees towards each other. Adjust the back, make sure your shoulder blades are nice and flat into the mat. Let's just take a few moments together just to centre ourselves. So to begin with, we just want to become reacquainted with our breath. Start to hear it again, start to feel it. We're going to take a few deeper breaths together now. So we're going to inhale for the count of 7, hold just for a beat or two, and then exhale for that count of 7. So that's in, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, hold. Out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and again in, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, hold, and out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. A couple more times in, and hold, and out. In, hold, and out. So now taking the breath into our ujjayi, just mindfully deepening it. You want to allow the body to the mind to be filling up with this lovely sound of the breath. So keeping the eyes closed and keeping the breath in its nice lengthened pattern, we're going to take our head over towards the right. So just turn the head, and then turn towards the right. And through centre and over the other side. To really try and press the head down towards the mat so you feel that stretch across the neck. We're going to do it one more time each side, so through centre, over to the right. And centre, over the other side. Through centre, you're going to take both knees into the chest now, giving yourself a nice little squeeze, maybe roll on the spine. And we're going to keep hold of the right shin and extend out through the left leg. So you want to increase the space from the right knee to the left toes if you can, pulling them away from each other. Bringing both knees back in together, and let's swap over sides. So taking hold of the other shin, and again pressing out through the right toes and pulling up with the left knee. Bringing them both together, and then resting the feet flat on the ground. Coming into a pigeon pose now, so taking the right ankle over the left knee. Remember to flex through that sole of the foot, press the knee away from us. See how you feel, so that main stretch should be felt across the right thigh, maybe through to the bum cheek. If you want to take it deeper, we can grab hold of the underside of the left thigh, or even grab hold of the shin and bring that in towards us. But make sure you continue to press that knee away, that right knee away, flexing through the foot. Keeping the head on the floor for this pose, the gaze is up. Try and keep the bottom of your back as well nice and flat into the mat. And releasing, we're going to swap over sides. So unhook and hook the other side, setting ourselves up, knee pressing away, flexing the foot. Reminding yourself as always, each side's going to feel a little bit different perhaps. You don't always have to go to the same place as you did with the other side. But if you're wanting to take it deeper, the underside of the right thigh or even the shin, drawing that leg in towards you. And gently releasing and hooking. So we're going to extend the legs out now. We're going to come onto our forearms. So just lifting up through the back slightly, come onto our forearms. You want to keep them parallel with each other. And then we're going to take the chest up to lift the chest, press into the ground with your arms and take the head back. Just to start to feel that stretch through the chest and the shoulders. You want to keep the legs active here as well. And gently just bringing the spine back to neutral and using your hands to guide it. And then cross your legs. Hands onto the knees. We're going to move into a nice long round of cat-cow here. So pressing into the knees, inhale, chest up, shoulders back, flicking up through that tailbone. Take another breath here. And let's curl round into our cat. So really doming through the shoulder blades, sucking the belly button in. And coming back to neutral, coming onto our knees now. We're going to first of all settle ourselves into child, and then we're going to move ourselves into puppy from there. So taking the knees apart or keeping them together if you prefer, just resting your head down onto the mat. And lifting ourselves up from here. So coming into puppy pose now. We're going to take that tailbone up, start walking out with the hands, and we let the chest come down towards the mat. So you may be resting the forehead here. You may even be able to rest the chin, taking the gaze forward. So your bum isn't on the heels for this pose, remember. It's lifted up. You're finding that curve through the spine. Each exhale, just allow yourself to surrender that little bit further into the mat here. gently guiding ourselves up, bringing the hands back. We're going to sit back onto our heels now. Just warm up the wrist gently, so taking the hands out in front of us, some gentle fists. Roll them a few times around one way and a few times around the other. Swap over sides again and back round. Pressing the hands out in front of you now, so press through the heels of the hands, curl the fingertips back. You're going to be doming through the shoulder blades as well here. I'm pressing the hands down. Now press through the top of the hands. Releasing, and let's come into a downward facing dog. So hooking the toes, lifting ourselves up. But this first one, we're going to just start to tread through the legs. So coming onto one ball of the foot and then the other. Just treading through. So really press out through that lengthened leg, feel that stretch. And then swapping over to the other side. And then gently resting ourselves into this pose now. You want to take a softer, softening through the knees than do here for this first one. Allowing ourselves the time just to warm through the body. We're going to gently come back onto the knees now. We're going to do another round of our puppy pose here. It's a great warm up for moving into our back bends. So taking the hands out slightly, lifting up through the tailbone again. Sliding them out further, bringing the chest down towards the mat. Lifting yourselves up, gently bringing the hands back, and let's move into downward dog again, so tucking the toes. Continue to take that nice movement through the legs if you want, or we can settle here just in our static pose. We're going to walk the feet forward now to the front of the mat. As always, we're not moving it without a little ragdoll here. So hold the elbows. Nice little sway from side to side. So if you want to soften the knees here, then do. And inhale. Gently coming up. Head the last thing to come up. Taking the arms up. And then bringing the hands behind, taking hold of the lower spine and moving into a supported back bend here. So we're going to press forward with the hips, lift the chest, shoulders come back. So we're going to do a few of these during this class. So just take a mental note of how we're feeling right here in this moment. Gently bringing yourself back to neutral and coming into mountain on the top of the mat. So feet together, thighs together, hands by our side. Let's take a breath and exhale. Inhale, raise the arms. Exhale, forward fold, bend if we need. Inhale, halfway lift. Take the hands to the shin if we need to keep our legs extended. Now we're going to step back with our right leg, hook the toes. The arms are going to lift up and then roll all the way back, lifting back up to the ceiling. So when we found our balance, we're going to just sink down a little bit more in those hips. This stretch here through the hip flexor, again, it's really going to assist with those back bends. We're going to roll around 2 more times with the arms. So rolling back and up. 1 more time. Let's inhale. Exhale, hands come down. So we're either going to step or you can jump back into plank pose if you prefer. Full plank or on your knees as we move through chaturanga. So inhale. Exhale, control the movements. Inhale, we're going to lift up into up facing dog. We're going to take an extra breath here. So up facing dog is with your thighs off the ground. Cobra is with your thighs on the ground. Do what is comfortable to you and in your practice. Take another breath. And let's glide our way back into downward facing dog. Let's walk our hands back to the back of the mat. We're going to take hold of the shins and come into a halfway lift. So feel that extension through the back, that pull forward with the heart, the extension through the spine. And then we're going to bring our hands at the back of our legs and draw our body in towards the legs into a forward fold. So remember, it doesn't matter where you're grabbing at the back of the legs, as long as it feels comfortable for you. You may be able to grab hold of your heels, you're going to be further up round the knee. But try and connect the belly and that lower ribs to the thighs as we draw ourselves in. If you want to even bend the knees gently here, then do so. Inhale, lifting it, releasing the hands. We're going to move back into our downward facing dog. Stepping or walking forward to the front of the mat, halfway lift, forward fold, inhale up we can. And taking the hands now back to the lower spine, taking that support, hips forward, chest up, taking the head back gently. And releasing, coming back to neutral, back to mounting at the top of the mat. Let's take a breath together. Let's inhale and exhale. So we're going to do that now on the other side. Inhale, raise the arms. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, step back with the left. Hook the toes. The arms come up and roll straight round. And take them back up towards the sky. So finding your balance, sinking a little bit deeper with the hips. So we're going to roll those arms back 2 more times. So rolling backwards. 1 more time. Inhale. Exhale, hands down. Stepping or jumping back into plank. Inhale. Exhale, down we go. Inhale, into our cobra or up facing dog with thighs off of the ground. We're going to take an extra breath here. So just note what your shoulders are doing, not here, we want them back, chest open. And downward facing dog we go. Walking our hands back to the back of the mat, holding onto the shin and taking that halfway lift, that extension. And then hands to the back of the legs as we draw ourselves in for that fold. Inhale, lift, release the hands back to the mat and then walk ourselves back into downward facing dog. Stepping or walking back to the front of the mat. Inhale, lift halfway. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, rising up. Taking the hands back to the lower spine, supporting that back bend again. And coming back to neutral. Releasing the hands, taking a breath. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale, lifting up onto our toes and extending through the arms now. Just find your balance. Now we're going to roll those arms backwards, come onto our heels and sit ourselves down into a nice chair pose. Just take a second just to peek down, making sure that you can see your toes and you can move your toes freely here. So now we're going to take the arms down and roll them backwards as we come back up to standing on to our tiptoes. Hands come into prayer, taking a breath. Arms lifted and parted. The heels come down, we roll the arms back, sitting back into our chair pose. So the gaze is going in the same direction as your arms. Arms come down, roll up, and behind us, coming back onto our toes, hands back into prayer. We're going to do one more round of this. So lifting through the arms, taking them apart, heels down, arms roll back, sitting into the chair. Roll the arms downward, behind us, back onto the toes, lifting up, hands into prayer. So you're going to bring the heels down now. We're going to sit into chair and press our hands forward here. Inhale, lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, lift halfway. Exhale, we're going to step or jump back all the way into plank. So soften the knees, take your hands down if you can. Jump ourselves back into plank. Drop to the knees if you need. Inhale. Exhale, control. Make sure the elbows aren't flaring out. They're close to the body as we come down. And then inhale, lifting up. Shoulders come back, taking the extra breath here. And exhale, downward facing dog. Lifting it through the right leg, 3-leg dog. We're going to step forward to the front of the mat, come into a crescent lunge. So hook the back toes. We're going to lift up through the arms and sink ourselves into crescent. So we're going to bring eagle arms into it now. We're going to bend the left arm 90 degrees. The right arm comes under. We turn our hands towards each other and then we lift up. So you should feel a stretch across the top of the shoulder blades. We're going to move into warrior 2 now. So release the arms. We're going to straighten everything up. The back foot releases, the arms come down and we settle down with that front leg. So just the legs if you need to. Remember, we want that nice sort of strong pillar of strength from that knee down to the ankle. Just so you know what our ribs are doing as well. We have a tendency to flare them out here in this pose. So if that's happening, just draw them back in, engage the core. Inhale, we're going to straighten, move into triangle. So all the way forward, like someone's grabbed hold of that front hand. Bringing the hand down to the leg. It may be near the toe, it may be further here. Making sure we've got everything stacked over that front leg. Lifting up through the left arm. So to avoid dumping all that weight there into there, you maybe come onto your fingertips here. That's going to help. Or if you find that you're resting your head on your shoulder a little bit, just note, recognise that and find that extension. You want to be pulling the energy all the way up. Gaze goes down. We're going to windmill ourselves up and back, taking the left fingertips onto the back leg and drawing them down, stretching through the right side of the body. Now windmilling ourselves all the way back around, bending the front leg. And again, we're going to step or jump back into our plank pose. Inhale. Exhale, down we go. Inhale, cobra or at facing dog, extra breath. And downward facing dog we go. So we can do that little sequence on the other side. So let's lift it through the left leg. We're going to step it forward to the front of the mat, hook the back toes, rising up into our crescent lunge. Sinking the hips down. And we're bringing in eagle arms now. Right arm bends, left one under, turn the hands and lift, taking the gaze up to follow. Staying strong through those hips, don't release that nice lunge we have. Let's find our way into warrior two now. So we release the arms and we extend everything. Drop the back foot down at the angle, hips come out, arms come out, settle down into our warrior two. Stretching the arms out either side of the room. Connecting with our breath. Inhale, straighten. Let's get ready for triangle. Exhale, forward first. Hands down. So remember, your hand may be further up your leg. That's okay, as long as we're all stacking over that front leg. Imagine you've got two walls in between your body. So we can't stick our bum out or stick our chest forward. Taking the gaze down, lifting up, and now that right arm slides down the back leg, coming onto its fingertips. Let me stretch open through the left side of the body. Windmill ourselves back round, soften that front knee. Step or jump back into the plank. Drop to the knees if we need. Inhale at the top. Exhale, control. Inhale, lift, extra breath. Note what your shoulders are doing. I really recommend you taking a video of yourself in this pose. Do this without even realising. Downward facing dog. Stepping or walking back to the front of the mat. Going to inhale, lift halfway. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, let's rise up, head coming up last. Extend the arms. And then taking the hands behind us again, lowering and taking to the lower spine, hips forward. Seeing where our back bend is now. Coming up to neutral, releasing the hands, and let's take a breath together. Let's inhale, exhale. Finding pyramid pose now. We're going to keep the left foot forward and step back with the right. So only a couple of feet between them. Both feet facing forward and a bit of a space running between the feet as well. We're going to take the hands onto the hips. We're going to have a few options here for you. So let's inhale. Exhale, we're going to pull forward with the heart, take that hinge through the hips. And some of you may be able to touch the ground without bending your knees. So for those of you who are able to, you're going to take a moment to find that extension, really stretch through the back of the leg, and then you're going to drape yourself over the front leg, taking the head down towards the shin. You may want to take your hands out a little bit further. For those of you with blocks, you can bring the floor a little bit close to you using these. And for those of us who are a little bit further up here, we've got two options. We can either press forward with our fingertips here. What also feels quite nice is bringing the hands behind you. So you're really pulling the heart forward, stretching through the back of the legs. And gently lifting ourselves up. So we're going to come into eagle arms again. Right arm first, left arm under. Turn the hands, lifting up. We're going to see if we can keep this arms whilst we move into warrior 3. Please do feel free to release the hands if you need to. So we're going to soften that front leg. My weight's going to come forward. I'm transferring the weight, lifting up through that back leg and still pressing forward with my arms here. I'm going to release now into a low lunge again. Release the hands if you need. I'm going to soften that front leg. Hook the back toes. Come onto the back knee and then lift up through the arms here if I can. We're going to release the arms. We're going to let all the weight sink forward. We're going to inhale, straighten that front leg, come onto the heel, and then press out through the fingertips. So again, just like pyramid. Some of you better grab hold of the floor or use blocks to reach. That's the case. Take a moment to extend, drawing yourselves along the length of the leg. Alternatively, we can press forward here with our hands. So pulling the toes towards your body is going to help increase that stretch through the back of the leg. And bringing ourselves back into a low lunge. So moving through some options again. So the arms are either here. We're going to bend the back knee, squeezing the heel in towards the bum. So we start to feel a bit of a quad stretch. Or if we can take that even deeper. Right hand onto the ground. Reach round with the other leg, with the other arm. And then squeeze our heel in towards our bum. Keeping the weight moving forward. So it gets quite intense quite quickly. So do be patient. Really use your breath here, it helps. Gently releasing the foot, bringing both hands down. We're going to take the left foot now to the edge of the mat, setting ourselves up for our lizard pose. So if you can slide the back knee back a little bit more, do that as well now. So we can either be on our fingertips, on our hands. If we can, we're going to try and bring ourselves onto our forearms here. Again, blocks can come in really handy if you need to bring the floor a little bit closer to you when you're a little bit sort of half and halfway between these sort of different sections of this pose. So if you feel reasonably comfortable here, so you're finding enough stretch but it's not making you want to hold your breath, you can take it a little bit deeper if you hook the toes and lift up through the back knee. So all the weight then is sinking down into the hips. Another couple of breaths. And lowering the knee. Coming onto the hands, we're going to hook the back toes. So we're going to come back into three-leg dog. If you need to take a pit stop in downward facing dog, then please do that. But we're all going to meet back in three-leg. So when you're ready, we're going to lift up, taking that left leg high up again in our three-leg dog, finding that lovely stretch. And then we're going to come back forward again into pigeon. So the knee bends, drawing the knee in to the wrist, back leg comes all the way back. Start on your fingertips here. Check in how you feel, make any adjustments and then take it deeper if you want. Onto the forearms, or extend the hands out in front of you. Resting the head onto the mat. So in this stillness, Just reconnect yourself with the breath if you need to. Continue to fill the mind, the body with the sound of the breath. And then lifting ourselves up back onto our fingertips. Now we're going to take this back leg, we're going to swing it all the way around and hook over the left thigh. So if you need to extend the left leg out with this pose, if the balance is tricky, then please do that. The left arm is going to reach round, squeeze the thigh, and the right hand's going to come back. So lift, extend, and take the gaze behind you. Taking the gaze forward again. So you're going to bring your legs into a gentle cross, and we're going to try and bring ourselves into a plank pose now. So we've got a few options. You can either gently do this coming onto your knees, or we can try and jump through. So if you can bring your weight forward, take the hands in front of you. So I'm on the edge of the little toe side of my feet. Press the weight up, lifting up gently, and propel your legs back into a plank pose. You can still come onto your knees if you need for your chaturanga. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale, up and lift. Another breath. Downward facing dog. Adjust, connect, settle. Stepping or walking our feet to the front of the mat. Halfway lift. Forward fold. And inhale. All the way up we come again. Head comes up last. Hands reaching up. Taking the hands down to the lower spine. Let's see how that back bend's feeling. So hips forward, chest up, shoulders back. Finding way all the way back to centre, releasing the hands. So we're going to do that on the other side now. So we start in pyramid. Right foot forward, left one is back. So feet facing forward, little space between, hands onto the hips. Let's inhale. Exhale, hinge, heart pulls forward. Release and grab the floor if you can. Use the blocks to bring it closer to you. Extend. And then drape yourself over. Remembering our other options. So hands forward or hands back. Lifting ourselves up gently, and let's find our eagle arms again. So now it's left arm first, right one underneath, turn the hands, and then lifting up. Find that stretch across the top of the shoulder blades again. So we're going to try and find our way into warrior three with our hands like this, but remember, it's your practice. Please take your hands, where you need them if this isn't working for you. So bend the front knee, transfer the weight. Start to then straighten that front leg, trying to find the line between the fingertips and the toe tips. We're going to find that low lunge now. Soften the front knee, hook the back toes, drop the back knee. If we've still got hold of these eagle arms, then lift up. Lifting and releasing the arms, and then all the weight sinks forward. Half splits. Inhale, straighten the front leg, come onto the heel. Exhale, press forward with the hands or come to the floor with your fingertips, all the blocks. If you're able to, extend and then find that drape over the legs. Take your hands out further if you need. Bringing ourselves back into the low lunge, lifting the arms, going through our options. We stay here, or we can bend the back knee, or we can grab hold of the foot. So now the left hand goes to the ground. We reach round with the right and we squeeze that heel in towards the bum. Gently releasing. We're going to take that right foot out now towards the edge of the mat. Onto your hands or the fingertips. Use the blocks if we need. Just bearing in mind that each side's going to feel different. We either stay here or we move down towards the mat with our forearms. If you're settled, if you feel reasonably comfortable here, then you can always remember, hook the back toes and lift the back knee to just sink a little bit more weight into those hips. Coming on to our hands. So now we're going to move back into that 3-leg dog. Remember, with the option of moving into downward dog first if you prefer. Hooking the back toes now. Lifting up, 3-leg dog. And let's come into pigeon. Bend that knee, come forward again and settle down. Back leg back, adjusting the shin. Making sure our hips are nice and centre. So remember, we just don't want our bum hanging over to one side. You should not be sitting on your bum on either side for this pose. Take a second. How do I feel? And then settle further from here, taking the arms further if you need. So I find that this is a pose where once we get used to it, your sort of that level of maybe initial uncomfort seems to dissolve quite quickly in this pose as you become more seasoned at it. So when that starts to happen, then just make the adjustments you need. So it might be that you can take the back leg back a little bit more so your hips become more connected with the ground. Or maybe we can just edge up that shin a little bit further up the mat while we're here, remembering to flex through the ball of the foot, keeping our hips nice and level. So just adjust as you need to. Gently releasing, lifting ourselves up onto our fingertips. We're going to swing that back leg all the way around like we did on the other side and hook over the thigh. You can always extend this right leg out, remember, if you prefer. The right arm reaches around, squeezes that thigh in towards you, keep the spine long, hand behind, and then take the twist. and then gently release. Bringing the legs into that cross position, deciding when we're going to attempt that jump back or whether we're going to come onto our knees and twizzle round. So if you're able to, the weight comes forward, jumping back, inhale, exhale, inhale, lift, up dog, taking another breath. Downward facing dog. So we're going to come into a nice little hip stretch now. We're going to roll ourselves forward, keeping on our toes into an upward dog position, but with our toes hooked. So keep moving forward past plank, and then come into the up dog on your toes. So if this is too uncomfortable, then please do rest your thighs on the ground. So you're going to press forward with your hips. So pressing forward, shoulders back. And then if it feels okay, you're going to take a little sway from either side. So it's quite a strong stretch through the front of the hips. So use your breath, listen to your body. We're going to drop to our knees and settle back into a child's pose. And then work up into downward facing dog again. So this time we're going to roll forward and settle ourselves into just plank pose. Inhale here. And we're going to control ourselves all the way down to the ground. So control, control, all the way down. Moving the arms, get ready for Sphinx pose. So pressing the forearms into the ground, lifting up through the chest. Shoulders come back. Remember to adjust the elbows as you need. Now we're going to lift up through the right leg. And releasing down. Let's swap over sides. And releasing. Let's rest our head down to the ground. And bring the arms the length of the body now. So palms facing it. We're going to move into our locust pose. So we're going to press the hips into the ground. We're going to lift the legs, press the fingertips back, open the heart. So if you can, we're going to press the fingertips back a little bit more. Can we get a little bit more height here? And gently releasing down. We're going to bring ourselves up now. Gently and get ready for the next pose. So moving into bow pose now. So we're going to bend the knees. So we're going to try and grab hold of the top of each of these feet. So if this isn't working and the feet do not want to be grabbed hold of, you can work with one leg on this one instead, okay? Alternatively, we can move back to locust. This is a little bit more accessible for you. So if we're able to, we're going to bend the legs, hold on to the tops of the feet. Take a moment. We're going to keep our thighs on the ground for this first round, okay? So press the feet into the hands and propel the heart up. As we do that, shoulders back, gazes forward. And gently lowering down, releasing the hands and the legs if we need to. So we're going to do another round of that in a second. Just take a breath, take a moment. So again, we're going to bend those legs, take our hands behind. So you can continue with the option of keeping the thighs to the ground, or this time, if we're able to, and if the first one felt okay, we're going to take the thighs off of the ground this time. So when you're ready, pressing the feet into the hands, press into the hips, and the thighs come off of the ground now. Keep the breath flowing here. Another breath. Gently releasing down, let's find our way into child's pose. So taking the knees out wide if that feels comfortable, dropping the bum back, settling ourselves down. Lifting yourself up gently. And now it's time for our camel pose. So you want to come onto your knees. You may want to come a little bit further into the centre of your mat for this if you're not already there. And we're going to lift ourselves up. So for those of you who know you have the flexibility through your hips, your chest, your back, then you may want to come onto the top of your feet. If you're not sure about this, then I suggest you start on the toes, as that's bringing the floor closer to you. So we're going to start by doing one side and then the other. So this right hand's going to reach round, come onto the heel, and the hips move forward, chest up, arm back, coming into that back bend. So really work on keep pressing the hips forward through this. And then lift ourselves gently up. So I'm going to do the other side now. So taking the left hand back, hips forward, chest up, arm lifted and back. So if you are feeling okay here, so remember you can always unhook the feet. So you're taking the floor further away from you again. This is going to deepen the pose. Another breath. Gently lifting ourselves up. So if that felt enough, we're going to do one side and then the other again. If you want to take a little bit deeper, if that felt all right, then we're going to try and do the full camel pose. So again, you can always start on your toes and adjust while you're in it. We're going to reach around and grab both of the heels now. You don't have to do them both at the same time. You can do one and then the other. Then once you're here, hips forward, chest up, shoulders back. So once you're here, assess how it feels. Do you want to move onto the tops of your feet? If you don't like taking your neck out, like lengthening, you can always keep the chin to the chest if that feels better. So remember to swap sides if you're doing one and then the other. And then gently bringing yourself back up. So we're going to do a third round of this now. So we're going to take it another step further. If again, that second one was okay. So on the table still, we still have the one side and then the other. We still have, we're reaching around either on your toes or on the flats of your feet. So if you're sort of finding it quite comfortable, you're on the tops of your feet here and you feel you have a little bit more bend in you, then I'm going to invite you to take the hands further up the legs. So we're moving towards that knee pit. Okay? So we're going to bring our hands in. Settle yourself into the pose. So hips forward. Open the chest. And you may find then that we can sink our head down towards the ground. Only come down as far as you know that you can use your thighs to come back up with. You don't want to get so far down that you think, now I'm stuck, and then have to then fall onto your head to sort of wriggle yourself out and sit back up again. So really think about how much you are controlling this pose. Another good way of trying to work this out is you can always take your hands onto your chest here. So we can all have a go at this. And keeping our body straight, we're going to come back as far as you know that you can then bring yourself back up. So hold, and then bringing yourself back up from here. So we can do that a few times. Let's do that again. Rolling back. And coming up. For those of you who are able to and have the movement, you can take a bit of a bend now through this pose as well. So coming back, hip forward. And then lifting up from here. Let's take a rest. Just for a moment, we're going to open the knees, settle ourselves back, and we're going to give that pose just one more whirl, at whatever level you want. Lifting ourselves back up. So final time, one arm, then the other. Full camel pose. We can try these little pulses if we want to work out those thighs. Or we can take the hands a little bit further on those calves, drawing ourselves back a little bit deeper. So when you're ready, finding your breath. And settling in to the pose. Gently working your way out, setting ourselves back into a little child's here. So we're going to lift ourselves up, we're going to come on to our bum and then bring the legs out in front of us. So what I want to do is sort of bring the feet reasonably close together. We're going to take the arms sort of underneath the knee. We're going to try and grab hold of the opposite armpits, opposite elbows here. And what we're going to do now is curl our spine like we're doing our cat pose, taking the head down towards the spine, towards the thighs. And this can work as a really nice sort of release for the back after all of those back bends. So when you're ready, curling through the spine into that cat pose, drawing the head in towards the thighs. A few more breaths here because it just feels so nice. And releasing. Just coming onto your heels now, we're going to grab hold of the outer edge of the feet, moving into a forward fold. So try and connect the belly, the ribs with the thigh as you draw the legs out. So obviously there may be a point where you aren't able to extend the legs out anymore, and that's okay. We'll settle there in our fold. For some of you, you may want to go all the way down, finding that fold here. Taking again that stretch through that lower spine. So when we're doing our back bends, it's really important that we try and counter those movements with some forward folds afterwards. So forward folds and twists work really well just to complement and to soothe after that back bend movement. Lifting ourselves up, we're going to come onto our backs now. I'm going to bring our legs to sort of a 90-degree angle, a little bit like when we're doing boat pose. So taking the head down, we're going to bring our arms into cactus arms. We're going to do a little twist from side to side, but try and keep your legs in the same position throughout this movement. So we're going to take our knees now down over to the right. Feeling that lovely stretch and twist through the side. And through center. Then you go over to the other side now. Through center. One more time each side. Over to the right. Through center. And over to the left. Through center. So we're going to keep hold of the right knee and shin. Extend out through the left leg. We're going to come into our supine twist now. So take hold of that knee with the left hand and then draw the knee over to the left. The right arm extends out and you take your gaze to follow. And releasing, let's swap over sides. So taking hold of that left leg, extending out through the right, and that knee now carries over to the right side, extending out through the left. Back to center. Squeeze both knees in now. Maybe a little roll on the spine. And let's gently rest yourselves into a nice position for your Shavasana. So laying however's comfortable to you, making that adjustment with your body. We're going to do 3 nice big cleansing breaths and then we're just going to settle ourselves and enjoy that final few moments of our practice. So let's inhale really deep. Out with noise. Hands again in. Exhale. Last time in. Letting our breath now just find its way back to its natural rhythm. Just allowing yourself to relax in that space that you've created for yourself. So sometimes when we work through chest opening poses or hip poses like we've done today, that can sometimes sort of unlock a little bit of stuck emotion, so we hold on to a lot of it. So you may find different feelings arise perhaps in this moment of stillness. I just encourage you to avoid squashing them back down. Just allow yourself to feel.